Nair GG is a name that's become a little infamous in the Wuthering Waves community as somebody who's had some absolutely terrible takes on Wuthering Waves. He was cooked a little while back by quite a few content creators, but he did take a lot of it in good stride and he had a lot of good feedback from it. However, he seems to be back again because he's commenting on the Wuthering Waves live stream that was part of when Wuthering Waves was fully announced and some of the details that they shared. I didn't jump on the first train of feedback for what Nair had said before, but I do want to follow up to see what he's going to pull out this time on the official announcement. So let's go in and see what he says about it.
All right, it's time. It's time that we have a talk. Sit down. Come on.
Oh no.
Take a seat. Let's have a okay. Well, I forgot to heal my camera.
There's one thing I have to say about Nair that you can't take away from him. I do think he's actually genuinely funny. Well, although I disagreed with his takes in his first Wuthering Waves video on quite a few of the points, not all of them, but quite a few, I do think he does have a certain charm and he is very funny. So I actually do like the guy. Just to be clear, I'm not actually attacking him personally. I don't want to attack him personally. And don't you dare attack him personally. We're just having a conversation here. We're just checking out what he's going to say and we're just having good fun with it. But I just want to make sure to remind everybody about
camera battery. So I'm just going to make a cheap VTuber of myself that you can see on the screen. I want to
made with MS Paint, I'm sure.
The live stream was a disappointment. So previously my faith was at a 75%, especially after the written update. I do appreciate them making this live stream, showing those updates, the sound, feedback, the story, all around improvements, the ecosystem, stuff like that. That is all great and dandy.
I think 75 is fair. I think if you don't have a long history or experience in playing Kuro games and knowing the kind of stuff that they can pull out from future development, even if it necessarily doesn't have a perfect launch, I think a lot of us still have faith that if things still don't go perfectly on launch, that they're going to still stick with the game and they're going to be making changes, they're going to be making improvements. They do listen to their player base a lot. So if you don't have kind of that full context and history of the developer, have confidence in what they're doing, I can see why you might only be at a 75%. So I don't think that's completely unreasonable. I probably would have been a little bit higher than that. Not terrible.
But although all those things are great, I'm extremely disappointed because of the release date. It made me scratch my head because previously I said, okay, they got time to make these updates. They already made these changes. Now they can actually go in and really get down and dirty and fix these things and make sure they're perfect, polished, etc. But because the release date is literally less than 2 months away, I just don't feel that comfortable anymore. So
I'm gonna let him cook. I want to see why he doesn't feel that comfortable anymore. I get it. Based on, the previous video that I was talking about with Sticks and covering some of the kind of localization drama, I can see why somebody might be a little more hesitant with some of the details. But I don't know. I was never that off put by some of the localization details, apart from maybe conduct of the company. Again, that's a whole nother conversation about understaffing. But again, if you want my full take on that and what's going on in the drama, make sure to go check out that previous video. However, I'm not that worried. The only thing that I'm stuck on specifically myself is that hit feedback and reception. And I want them to see an incorporation of impact frames of some kind, because I just think it adds to the emphasis and I don't know, sensationalization of it all, if that's the right word. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, just to really feel epic, you're actually playing the anime you're watching on TV, So I that's all I was really kind of worried about or wanted to see more of. But I mean, so far from the sound effects and things, I don't know, I'm not that thrown off. But let's let him cook. Let's let him cook. Let's be fair. Let's get full context here.
I was right. The CBT was the game, right? I look at these games like making a cake. Once you bake the cake, you can't unbake the cake. The only thing you can do is maybe scrape off the frosting and add other frosting. And I feel like with the CBT2 or whatever, that is what they were doing. They would just add.
Yes, but what foundational components needed to be fully adjusted that you would constitute the cake there? For example, if I'm thinking back on his previous video, he was talking about the color palette, I don't know, that would be icing in my worldview as well. The sound effects and some of that hit reception and feedback definitely falls into that icing category. I thought the mechanics of the combat itself was actually good from a mechanical perspective, from a kit perspective, broadly speaking. I thought that was still good. I liked the grappling hook. And so those core systems I thought actually hit where it needed to hit. It was kind of the icing that needed some of that change. So even if that is the case, I still don't totally see that as a problem yet. Am I alone on that? Am I crazy? I don't know. Let's let him keep going.
Adding frosting, adding little fruits and decorations. They're not gonna if people said, hey, remove a character from the game, they're not gonna do that, right?
localization would fall into that icing category for me as well, just to clarify, because they're talking about like localization not completely reworking the story. So unless you think they do really need to rework the story, then okay, I can see that completely restructuring the game. You kind of get the cake later there, but from like the localization level, 100% that's icing.
Or add a new character. They're not going to do that, right? They're only going to take the icing or the polish. They're going to say, okay, you guys want the text change. Okay, you guys want the sound change. Okay, you guys want the colors brightened
Yes.
up. And I'll be honest, the colors actually do look a little bit better here in this frame. Actually, never mind. That frame is garbage. Anyway, and you know what? I'm okay with that.
You know, that is one area from his original video that I thought was like a fair take. I appreciated in his previous video, he kind of gave a quick little like demo showing like, look, if you bump the saturation a little bit, you don't take away the washed out like apocalyptic style, but you still kind of get more of like vibrance added into it at the same time. I think that's totally fair. And I can understand the complaint why somebody might say like, no, that should be in the foundational like initial gameplay experience. They should add that. But also, you could always just like add in a filter. Like, doesn't NVIDIA have like built-in filters that you can use to play? Which again, I know doesn't completely solve the problem for like mobile players or people who don't maybe have NVIDIA on their PCs. But like, I don't know, like, I don't know. I can flip flop on that one. You know what? I'll say that's like a medium. That's like a medium for me. I'm not gonna die on that hill. But I thought his demo when he showed that originally in his previous video was actually good. It was fair.
I'm okay with being a little disappointed. My faith in the game is about 45 to 50 right now because of
50.
this. Because I feel like it's less than 2 months.
50 just feels really low. 50 feels so low to me. 50% confidence in the game. Am I crazy? I feel like that's just like so low to be where we're at. Like, worst case, I'm at a 70. Worst case. But like, I would not put myself at a 70 at this point on that at all. Like, that just like, I think Wuthering Waves is in like a really solid spot. I do think we are kind of in like the icing phase. I think some of the other concerns I had about like some of the ecosystem and some of the layers of RNG can be compensated in other ways. And honestly, I think it will be. I think there's going to be some kind of crafting system that eventually they'll incorporate to help get the main stats. Maybe that's not fair because it's not in the game right now, but I don't know. I don't know. 50 feels so low to me though.
Enough time. I mean, they talk about adding new game modes and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, will there be bugs? Like, you didn't show everything you talked about in there. They talked about improving move sets and stuff. They only showed the simple things like sound and the what. That's pretty much all they really showed was sounds, the character animations, and the echoes, you know, fixing the ecosystem, which is actually a big one. Are they actually going to have that done in 2 months? If they can, great. I cannot wait.
That ecosystem thing they showed, I mean, maybe it's just like a demo instance and they're still working on the coding and stuff for it, but like, I don't know, that feels pretty straightforward to me. Like, I'm armchair expert here in terms of like coding. I don't think it's that complex to draft up a system of like bringing in echoes, recycling those echoes, creating an algorithm based on the echoes that are placed in there to then roll on a loot table of other echoes and on the substats, like to recycle that into. Like, that doesn't feel like an overly complex system to me. Like, and that seems to be the only major update that they've changed to the ecosystem is the ability to recycle those duplicate echoes, which again is effectively endless for the hardcore players out there. So I do still think that solves quite a bit, but like, that doesn't seem like a complex add to me. Am I crazy? Developers, let me know. Let me know in the comments down below if you think that's a more complex ad than I think it is.
But my faith is a little low because of the release date. I just wish they would give themselves a little bit more time. I want to give the
I need to clarify that previous statement. It would be like a series of loot tables, right? Like where you would have the first layer of RNG be the base echo, probably the base echo, and then the value of that echo, and then it would roll on the substat for that echo, which would then roll on the subsequent substat tables. So it would be like a series of RNG to like roll that. I don't think you would have a single table, because you'd have a single table of an insane number of options, whereas you could have I'm getting too technical, but I'm sorry. But I just was overthinking that loot table. I'm like, that either way, regardless, I think it's a fairly simple add on the recycling mechanic there. I don't know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be that.
Why I think this is kind of iffy. I'm not going to say bad because I still have faith in the game. It's just lowered. I lost faith, or I'm disappointed, is because I feel like the stuff they showed in this live stream was basic one-on-one. Like, I feel like when you first learn game dev, audio engineering, whatever it takes to make these games, story writing, I feel like a lot of stuff they were forced to fix by the community is shit they should have already had done when they first made the fucking game.
Whole bro, what? Like, games go through series of like feedback all the time. Like, not to allude to too much, but like I do a bit of like marketing and design in my free time, where marketing projects and illustrations and videos, for example, go through multiple rounds of refining and recycling. Recycling is not the right word, but like a refinement process of, you have your initial idea, you have the first iteration of it, you see what works, you see what doesn't, and then you reiterate on that again, and you continue to do that to get to the peak product. So much of Wuthering Waves sound design is on point. Like, from the overworld, like a music composition, to like what we've seen in the boss fights, which again, presumably in the beta was a little more limited. Like, all of the music and composition and stuff there was fantastic. The sound effects and things that were in the game, well, yes, we're not fitting in terms of like an impact perspective, was not like they were like trash quality content, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if Nair doesn't have a very good perspective of like the amount of garbage that actually gets pumped out into the gacha genre, and the quality disparity between what we've seen in Wuthering Waves and some other gacha games like is absolutely huge. So like the degree that it's being like criticized for that, I don't know. Like, that's why it's going through a beta. Like, it's like basic 101 stuff. Yeah, then they went through a beta, they got feedback on it, it didn't get the reception they were looking for, and so they're changing it. What are people supposed to do? Like, I don't understand. Like, okay.
Sound design, bro. You can watch a video on YouTube about sound design and know everything you need to know about impact, you know, feedback, stuff like that. Story writing, you can literally.
Okay, there are tons of tutorials and stuff on YouTube, and that absolutely is very helpful. I think the amount of stuff that you can find on YouTube is great. However, following a tutorial and hearing some of the basics, and then being able to then go into a project application and know exactly how to compose sounds for an entire game, all the different sound effects to make everything sound good quality, sound cohesive, like it fits in the world, is way more complex than he is letting on. And so many games suck at that. So again, he's making it sound like it's so simple. Every game does this. No, they don't. No, they don't. All the time it sounds like garbage. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was perfect by any means. Like I said, I think a lot of the sound effects on the combat needed work. It needed more impact. It needed more crunch. Of course it needed that. But to oversimplify it to that point, I just like, bro, what?
Yo, what? You don't even have to watch a video about storytelling. You can literally look up one of those dumb interviews with Mr. Beast talking about, oh man, if you want to grow on YouTube, do this. You want to make sure the first 30 seconds is compelling. And everyone knows that's basic shit. You mean to tell me they need an audience of gacha players to tell them these basic things, when a lot of these people that work at these companies, think about it, they've been studying their craft for at least 5 years, give or take. I mean, audio engineers, game devs, story writers, artists, right? And the artists, they're, you know, that's just art, right? But why the fuck are amateurs, or people who don't even do these things, telling you how to make your game, when these are basic things that you should already have done or should already be at the standard level?
Okay, they're not telling them how to do it. I like that. There's a huge misconception there of like, well, your player base is telling you how to make it sound good. No, they're not. They're asking them, hey, do you like how this? I punched the mic. They're asking, hey, do you like how this sounds? Do you like the experience? Do you like the combat? And players are saying, no, I want it to hit harder. I want it to feel more impactful. That's not, hey, could you go in there? I think you need to add some more layering in here. Maybe add the shattering glass sound effect on this impact here, but then you're going to drop that out, add a little bit of a compression on that. Like, no, what are you saying? No, they're not telling them how to fix it. They are getting player feedback on, do you like this? Yes, no, somewhat, kind of. I mean, if you've done the survey, you've seen what the questions are. Like, they're asking them to what degree they like the feedback on it. They're not asking them how to fix it. Like, they're trying to get the feedback from players because they want players to enjoy the experience while still trying to stick to the initial vision and art direction for the game to make it feel unique. I can totally see how that can be a tricky needle to thread, because you don't want necessarily to copy and paste something else's art style. I totally understand that, and I'm on board with that. Again, it's just like, I don't know. Some of these takes sometimes like drive me absolutely crazy. Let me know. Am I crazy? Let me know.
And that's why I lost faith, because it's like,
fight me in the comments.
If we have to tell you to fix the sound, you mean to tell me you can't look at your game and say, "Ooh, the sound is a little off. If you make a YouTube video, you should be able to listen to it and be like, damn, my mic kind of sounds a little, Like, are we really talking about sounds?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Yes. Like, sometimes I don't think it's that deep, bro. Like, some people try and like blow these things out of proportion. Like, I really don't think it's that deep. I think literally it's like, we're entering a position of subjectivity of what you want something to sound like. And so if that's how they envisioned it going, but the vast majority of people don't like it, okay. So like, then change it. And that's what they're doing.
Like, why are we talking about sounds? Why do we have to tell you guys to fix sounds and character face animations? That should be 101. That should be on your first checklist. Okay, let's make sure animations are good. I'll give you an example. Zenless Zone Zero doesn't look that.
I have a little more, man, I feel like a white knight in these videos sometimes. I'm not trying to be, but again, like, I feel like some of these takes are just like ridiculous. Like, okay, well, they're scanning over like the face animations. I'll make sure nothing of that slips through. Well, I would normally agree on maybe one of the earlier beta tests. I can see that and why you might have some of that criticism. Fair enough. However, knowing they've gone through a full story rewrite, they've restructured the quest progression, and they've just reworked that whole system, I think it's totally fair that some bugs made it through. Again, in a beta test. Like, again, that's to be expected to some degree, but like, yeah, like, I think that's pretty normal. Again, if that's there on launch, am I going to say that's like excusable? Like, no, like they should have it cleaned up for launch. Like, you should at least on your 1.0 have a pretty viable product that's not full of a lot of these bugs and issues. But if we're talking about like the beta and they said they reworked literally 90% of the storyline for this, like, yeah, of course some of those things are going to slip through. And that, like, do people not understand what a beta's for? Like, a beta is for players to go in and quality control the game, to get feedback to the developers to say, hey, this was good, this was bad. Hey, look, we found these bugs. That's the point. Like, what am I taking, crazy pills? Like, I don't, okay, we're gonna keep going.
That great anymore from the, recent beta and, all of the information and videos that's come out about it. But what makes the game just go crazy is their animations and sounds and all of that. The art, graphic design is S tier, and that is carrying that game.
Absolutely.
And I feel like Hoyoverse gets it. People want to see pretty shit. They want to hear pretty shit, and then you make the gameplay good. But it's like, why do we have to let these people know about basic concepts? But I was just super negative. I'll be a little positive.
Yeah, you better be positive for a sec. Because look, he's right about Zenless Zone Zero. One thing Hoyoverse does absolutely right is almost all of their character designs are always on point. There's like, I can count probably on one hand the number of like Genshin character designs that I don't like. And I probably wouldn't even use all of my fingers. I think all of the Genshin designs are really good. Some people don't think there's a lack of variety. Okay, fine. That's a subjective, kind of interpretation of that. I get it. But all the Star Rail characters, again, similar thing. I can count on maybe one hand the number of characters I don't like the design for in Honkai Star Rail. But that's largely because of the like tropes that the characters fall into. Like Misha, for example. I don't like Misha. I don't like Misha at all. Don't like Misha's design. I have no desire to build or ever use Misha. Think he looks super lame. However, then you look at characters like Acheron or Zila or Kafka, of course, and like, they're absolute banging designs. Absolutely love them. Fantastic characters. Black Swan's pretty good too. Like, they definitely know what they're doing on the Hoyoverse side of things.
At the very least, they are addressing it, and I greatly appreciate that. And I think
that's good.
Mentality overshadows anything negative I said in this video at all. Like, that is the most important thing to me in terms of like a live service game or something like that, is direct communication with the people that are making the game. The actual CEO, the actual people working are addressing you in the video and saying, hey, we saw this. This is what we did so far. I think that is the greatest thing ever. So that is why I haven't lost complete faith.
Absolutely.
I think what will happen is the game will drop. It'll be hype, of course, right? It'll be hype. Surely. I think the game will kind of reach a form where it's like, okay, now this game is okay. This is the game. Because of their transparency, I think 1.1, 1.2 to 1.3 is where the game will reach its final form, is where it'll really take off. I think it'll kind of reach that. Will it be like the biggest game ever?
I think that's fair. I think that's a completely fair take. Like I completely agree with him where they're being very transparent about the whole development process. They've being very open in their conversation with players and being receptive to player feedback. And I do agree that I don't think 1.0 will be a perfect launch. I can't think of like almost any like major game releases in the last few years that have had an absolutely flawless launch of a game of like this kind of style outside of maybe like Nintendo products, I guess, but they're just like kind of like an anomaly in the industry in general. But I feel like a lot of games launch with a lot of like bugs and issues, and it's like not for like the first version that those things get cleaned up or they refine a few things. Like in a live service game like this, I think that's a totally fair assessment. And actually, I'd be inclined to agree. I would probably agree with him there that I think 1.1, 1.2 is where we're going to see kind of like the peak experience, one of the peak experiences of Wuthering Waves in its initial form. And then we'll see how they expand on it. Like he's mentioned earlier in the video, they did talk about how they're going to be adding other game modes and other kinds of content into the game. I'll be interested to see that kind of like horizontal expansion to the game and going into other systems. And so, yeah, I think this is completely fair. I'm on board.
Ever? No, I don't think so. I still don't think it'll be the biggest game ever, but I think it'll reach a point where it's like, okay, this is a premium cake. But yeah, I'm done. I just wanted to talk about that because the live stream came out and I know people are going to be overly positive, but I still think we should talk about these things and talk about things we didn't like and liked. I wouldn't really call this like a negative video or whatever. It's just kind of, I was disappointed. I mean, it's just how I feel, right? Like it's not really a take. It's just how I felt. But yeah, that's it. If you liked the content, subscribe, and hopefully I can heal my camera for the next one. But yeah. Oh, and before I end this video, I gotta just say something real quick. This game is post-apocalyptic, right? Okay, let's think about this. I think attention to detail is important. So you see the world right now. You see the broken rocks.
Okay.
Right? You see all the broken rocks. You see the streets, the cracked streets. You see the little girl. Right, and this is pre-apocalyptic, right? Okay, the thing happened, and you see the street. This is I Am Legend, right? This is I Am Legendville.
Sure. Okay.
Why the fuck do they have clean outfits on if it's post-apocalyptic? Are they the rich and they left the poor to die? What's going on here? I just gotta know because they don't got no dirt on them, and then even after the battle, okay. Now we're gonna go through this. There's blood, rocks, everything, feathers. Where's the dirt? Somebody explain where's the dirt? Why is she so clean? Anyway, I'm done.
Okay, look, I want to reiterate some stuff before we finish off here. I think Nair, funny guy, really charming guy. If you ever wanted to reach out and chat, I'm always happy to talk to him. Like it's still a good video. And I gotta say, I do like that people are still voicing their concerns. I've said this the whole time and I will stick to this, that I think if people have concerns, they have criticisms, they have feedback, that they should give them whatever that feedback might be, even if I don't necessarily agree with it. And I think some of them are like kind of off base or unwarranted. I still appreciate anybody standing out there and saying, hey, I think this needs to be changed. So I gotta say, out the gate, I appreciate Nair for that. And it's a good video. I'm gonna have a link to his original video in the description down below. Make sure to go out, drop a like, subscribe to his channel, guys. Honestly, I'm subscribed. I think it's fun. He's only got 533 subs, and I want to see him get more subs out here. He's doing some good content. He's new on the scene, and I think he's coming out with some pretty good stuff. So overall, though, I don't agree. I think his final take there on the dirt and the post-apocalyptic, like, bruh, it's freaking anime. And also, if you played the game, you know that like, while it is apocalyptic in the rest of the world, things have reestablished itself, that there are like futuristic cities that are still clean and well kept. It's like humanity has retreated into a few sanctuary cities and they're not just out existing in the open world anymore. So like, yeah, they're not looking disheveled like they've been sleeping in the rubble, because they haven't been. They've been sleeping in actually pretty nice, like semi-sci-fi futuristic like cities. So like, I don't know. That makes sense to me. Also, yeah, it's freaking anime. Like, I don't know if I need to say more on that. Like, it's a freaking anime style. So it's cool. But like I said, shout out again to Nair. Great stuff. And shout out to all of you guys. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you and your time. Shout out to patrons who support this channel and support what I do here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.